we started the topic yesterday of a teaching of aware of being aware. So I'm going to continue with that today. The phrase aware of being aware, it's, as we said, largely a 20th, 21st century language. And the phrase became popular, but it's also a phrase where confusion can creep in, confusion in Dharma teachings. So I want to focus on one confusion that we didn't get to yesterday, and I'm going to bounce off of some of the writing Nellie and I did. So here's a paragraph. Some Buddhist traditions speak of direct perception, of seeing things as they truly are. The language of direct perception can be inspiring, but it can also quietly suggest a final, unfiltered standpoint. And just to be clear, this is our understanding, our view, not a definite claim or definitive claim. We think what seems to become clearer over time is not a world without filters, but the process by which experience is filtered. So I've been playing around with this, and the image that keeps coming to me is, and really, it feels like it's trying to help me understand this concept. Because, of course, a teaching is a concept until you start using it. It still starts to become part of your experience. But this image of thinking about water, and we talk about how we talk about water, filtered water, as something good. So it's filtered to improve, to remove impurities that come from the same stream the water flows through. So mountain water is often described as more pure, meaning that it carries fewer toxins. But even mountain water isn't pure in the sense of being only hydrogen and oxygen. It's still water that's moved through soil, mineral, air, through conditions. But then we buy purified water, right? Stripped of everything. And in a sense, it can be over-processed. And have you ever noticed how kind of strange purified water tastes? Almost flat or artificial for me. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like water. And again, that kind of image helps me not because I want to get into water wars or anything like that, but more because we're trying not to strip down our experience to something pure in that sense, something emptied of mood, of memories, of bodies, of our history. And that kind of purity for me can start to feel oddly lifeless, like water without character. Or experience without texture, without more texture to it. So it really shifts a question of how do we remove conditioning, which we're really not trying to do, but in some cases, practice is. It shifts it to how do we relate wisely with the conditioning that's already there. Here's another paragraph we wrote. So clearly, reflective meditation tends to resist the move towards unfiltered experience, not because it rejects clarity, but because it keeps us close to humility, to conditionality, and to ongoing inquiry. When we look closely in meditation, we don't find a pure moment of seeing, or for that matter, of hearing or sensing before interpretation. We find seeing, hearing, sensing already shaped again by mood, memory, bodily state, and expectations, etc.
Thank you, cutie. Ugh.
So this direction of being shaped by something makes sense to me. And I was thinking, why does it? Well, I've known it since birth. My parents shaped me as I, was born. It came from the culture they lived in, the place where they were born, where I was born. And I took up consciously and unconsciously much of that shaping. And I rebelled against that shaping, the shaping I didn't want. And I was able to make some choices in that rebelling. But it's this kind of mysterious idea that something precedes or something comes before this shaping that so many cultures and so many people have celebrated. And at times I can feel like a lonely Buddhist not believing in that anymore, even though I was trained from my history. And truthfully, sometimes my experience leads me in a direction that cries out, "Oh, this must be it. There's something there, something, the meaning of everything before my experience." And, usually I find those times in crisis, or maybe even at the end of my life, I'm going to resort to some of those beliefs. I don't know. Because truthfully, and I like to mention this here, is I'm not coming from a certainty position, coming more from agnosticism. And so when I name myself as an agnostic here, an agnostic of believing in filtered water, or, unfiltered water, sorry, unfiltered water. I'm not standing apart from the Buddhist tradition. Many spiritual teachers and of other contemplative traditions adopt an agnostic posture rather than a belief system that they build around it. And it takes some resistance, some critical thinking, and what I feel is a flexible inner world to resist claims of final knowledge and instead emphasize humility, conditionality, and ongoing inquiry. So, in our meditation, hence our instructions that kind of set up the practice, we're inviting more a gentle curiosity without needing for you to arrive anywhere predetermined. You're really not being given a task to find something that precedes your experience. Or we're not asking you to use a one-word name to name your experience as you're experiencing it. And in reflection, we're not asking you to chase awareness backward to locate an original untouched moment. So as I was writing this talk, I thought, oh, this sounds conceptual. Like it's not giving experience and my experience. And I do think aware of being aware can sound like something you're now supposed to do, and it's fair to be confused and ask, well, what does that even mean? Why are we talking about it? But we're offering this teaching in the spirit of an orientation towards practice, um, not something to add to the list of what you need to strive for now, to always be aware of being aware. More like a touchstone for practice, in your certainty, in some of the experiences that you see and what you make of them, in your understanding of your meditation practice and translation of your practice into action. So let's see how this teaching works its way through your system.